Claude Design just dropped, GPT Images 2.0 just dropped. This seems to be an absolutely crazy week for anybody in the creative fields. Anybody that's got a website, that's been making posters, that's been making products. But mostly all the tutorials are kind of the same. You know, people post in a little prompt and post it on Twitter, and that's about it. But really, that's not what Claude Design was built for. That is what you call the demo, not the real workflow. And since we've now had a couple of days, I've spent some time looking into what exactly Claude Design was built for, and I'm going to show you guys exactly in this video what it can do. So for all of you that are unaware, Claude just posted an update quite recently called Claude Design that basically allows you to make prototypes, slides, and one-pagers by talking to Claude. I made a video a few days ago where I decided to make an entire calendar app, and if you've got Claude Pro, you can see it over on the left. It says a little button here that says Design. You give it a description of a product and it'll make a full design with all the nice typography, buttons, layouts, whatever, like you just saw in my example of an entire freaking calendar, as you can see right here. Good to get this, all I did was just type in one specific prompt. I believe it's still somewhere up here. Yeah, here we go. You can see the prompt that I typed in for this entire calendar. That works, by the way. And the nicest part about it is that Claude Design had this cool feature of having an export button, meaning that if you were done with whatever you were building out in like a Figma replacement type of environment, even though people call it a Figma replacement, I don't think it fully is. But once you were done building, there's also this button on the top right to actually export it out to Claude Code to really build the backend for it. So the real power here is to not be like Figma, to just be some pixels on a screen as in a design. The real reason behind Claude Design and their choice to make it interoperable with Claude Code is to basically design something and have it working in the same session, in the same day, in the same motivational burst. But if you want to get better at Claude Design here, here's my 4-step workflow. You start by describing the exact product. Start with what it does and who uses it, not with what it looks like. I think this is a mistake that most people will make, a mistake. Did I just say mistake? Anyway, once you've done that, you generate 3 variants. Never accept the first draft. Drafts are a decision, one is just basically a guess. Then iterate with deltas. Once you've got your proper basis after a few tries, it's not wise to let the whole thing be written time and time and time again because you're going to spend a lot of tokens, and most times you're basically just getting back to a newer V1, right? Let's call it product 2 but V1, product 3 V1, and you want to kind of get with product 1 V7 so you're optimizing locally or targeted, not rewrite the entire thing. And then step 4, export to Claude Code, send the specs straight to Claude Code from idea to working app in one session. Most tutorials only talk about step 3, write a new prompt to change it. If you've got a design, just write a new prompt and change it up a bit. But that's why the output feels like a novelty, and once you run the full loop, it stops being a novelty and starts being the fastest way to go from any sort of idea to a working product that I've ever used. But let me show you what that actually looks like on a real project. As in this video, I'm going to build out a fake, or I guess quite real, fitness habit tracker. We're going to be calling it Pulse Tracker because I feel like it. It doesn't exist, it's not a real product, it's just for this video, but I'm going to show you guys exactly how I did it. Or well, I'm going to do it because I haven't started yet. It's just an idea in my head, right? There's nothing on paper just quite yet. Alright, so first things first, you insert a little project name, which I've just done. I've called it Pulse Tracker. Now we are in Claude Design, and we're going to have to start writing ourselves a nice little prompt on the bottom left. And here's the thing that many people will go wrong. They will just type in something like, design a fitness app with a dashboard and a calendar. And that's a visual brief. Claude Design can work with that, but the output is going to be quite generic because you told it the what and not exactly the why. To become a bit better at prompting Claude Design, I've laid out a little, I'm going to call this a bit of a template for these prompts. For example, you explain exactly what it is that you're trying to design from a why perspective. So Pulse Track is a habit tracker for people who've tried and failed to stay consistent. The core user is someone who has downloaded 5 fitness apps and uninstalled them all. The primary job is open the app, see the one thing I need to do today, and check it off in under 5 seconds. Secondary job is look back at my week and feel the streak. Design the home screen with that in mind. Warm palette, no shame-driven red, mobile first. And the reason I'm building out a specific thing here is because I thought about it in my life. Hey, What exactly could be nice? You know, I've used multiple different fitness apps and trackers and whatnot, and even though I stay up, you know, I do my thing quite regularly, I think this would be something that can improve my life. And I think one of the nicest things about Claude design and things of this sort is whatever you are personally looking for in your workflow or your life, you can probably build out in an hour or two that hopefully increases your productivity. So I went with this. Anyway, make sure you press that like button if you enjoyed. So we're going to copy this prompt over and insert it into Claude design. All right, so now that we've designed the product brief, we just insert it into Claude design like I told you guys about, and we hit send. Once this has been sent off, all we have to do is just basically wait for our entire product here to load on in. It's really quite simple. So about 4 minutes and 55 seconds have passed, and this is what we got for right now. We got ourselves, as I obviously optimized for a phone, a few different pages right here, and we get the core idea, right? For example, you open your app up, walk for 50 minutes today. After your finished lunch around 1 p.m. and then you mark it as done if it's actually done. As you can see, it's done for the day. It ticks it off right there. Kind of, yeah, pretty nice actually. But here's the most important part. If we go down a little bit, you can see there's a design notes. And so what it explains to me right here is why exactly it chose to go for these things. And why does it give us the design notes? Why is it crucial that we made the prompt the way I made it? Is because we explained exactly what we wanted the user to feel. All right, the primary job we explained, but also the secondary job is to look back at the week and feel the streak. With this logic in mind, it decided to never have a shame red. You know, that you don't want to, if you miss the day, you see red, you're not going to go next day anymore. It thought of all this because, well, it's a really good freaking model, and we explained what we want the user to actually achieve or feel. It assigned a system based on that instead of just build out a nice little fitness app with a calendar, right? It's not the same. Let me know for fun down below if you like A, B, or C more. Which one do you think would be the best simple fitness app out of all three? And also, thinking of a different color? I personally think I like the first color the most right here, the orange. Now, there's a few more very interesting features that most likely a lot of people do not know about, and that's actually over on the top right. There's actually a few buttons like, for example, edit or draw. You can actually draw things into this as well. If you have specific designs you're looking for, you can actually type with Claude design with, again, a draw feature also there. So you don't have to write everything sometimes if you're able to draw things in. But anyway, as we established earlier, one version is just a guess, but now that we have 3 different versions, we can actually make a calculated choice. One of these versions moves on and the other 2 die forever. But the most important thing, because you can kind of always go back, is that you just keep moving. So you pick one and you move on with that. All right, so having said that, these 3 all look extremely nice, but I decided to write a little prompt right here that showcases that we want to keep everything exactly as it is, and this is very important as I described in my earlier steps, but change only the idea that the streak counter, that right now for the most part is below it, we want that to be above it. And we also want it to be the largest element on screen. So what we're doing right here is we're not redesigning the entire app. No, we're just taking one element and quote unquote tweaking it. But officially in design, we like to call this making a delta of sorts. You're not changing the entire prompt, right? You're not starting over. You're taking what has already worked and you're tweaking. With the idea, again, being one change at a time. So we give this prompt in and let's give it a little time to load on in, right? So I gave it a little bit of time to load. I think it's still not fully done, but you get the idea that right now all it did was it kept the entire app the same, right? But it moved this counter from below to above, or actually for the most part, it just added a new number of the streak. I'm not the biggest fan of exactly what this looks like, and I see a couple of minor mistakes like this right here. But it's okay as long as we just adhere to 3 of the main principles, or at least 3 different Delta style prompts that work because, well, you're only changing one element at a time. You're preserving everything else with the idea in mind that if you were to do this in Figma, you'd have to move everything by hand. Just for one simple redesign, well, in this time frame, you could have probably had 10 different prompts typed. But anyway, I'd say stick to these 3 rules. You keep the layout, but swap the palette to dark mode, right? So we're not changing everything at the same time, we're just changing the palette. Or you keep the palette, but move the call to action button from the header to sticky bottom. Or we keep everything, like I just mentioned earlier, change only the tone of the copy from encouraging to no nonsense. Remember, one element per delta, preserve the rest, that's the rule. Fun little fact, by the way, I did not add any new prompts, right? It was able to, through taking some screenshots, find out that variant B's caption in the middle was not perfect. It was able to correct that on its own, which is beautiful. But here's another part that many of these tutorials don't really show you, and that is the main functionality of these apps. What is so beautiful here in Claude Design is a button right here on the top right. You can't perfectly see it, but it's there, and it says share. What you go through then is you press this button, hand off to Claude Code. Then there's a button that sends it to Claude Code Web if you don't have it on the desktop. You can also just copy whatever prompt it says right there and send it over to your desktop. And now without me really having to type anything, I can of course type in more specific prompts to make it more interoperable. We'll talk about that perhaps in just a second. But without me typing in anything, it just basically goes to make it in Claude Code from just mostly a front end to an actual working app. If you wanted it to be a bit more consistent though, and we didn't just copy and paste whatever Claude Design gave us right here, this is most likely the prompt that I personally would go for. Built this as a React Native mobile app, use Expo, use the exact component names, layout, and styling from the Claude Design spec that we inserted. Stop at any backend calls with fake data for now. I want a running dev build I can test on my phone in one pass. Because obviously this is a little bit more inconsistent, but for the sake of this tutorial, it doesn't really mean or matter if the app is really working because you've got all the components to make it work. Also, last time with the calculator, I showed you guys exactly how to get that done, how it gets to working, and how you can insert new events and it all works and it's all interoperable. There's a lot of different buttons you can click, different time frames and everything. And so basically in 20 to maybe 40 minutes, you can basically go from an idea in your head to a working app on your phone. There's no interoperability issues between you and a designer and an engineer. I mean, the design now and the actual underlying code came from the same brain because it has the perfect interoperable handoff. There's no second guessing. There's no context loss. The exact, let's call it, maker of the design is also the builder of the backend. So it's just pretty amazing. And that's really what I think of when I think of Claude Design right here. I don't see it as just a Figma replacement where you just built a nice little front end. You just, look at it. Oh, look at how nice of a front end I built. Look at how beautiful I can make this design I can send to a freaking, company as a presenting thing. No, I see it as it taking away that missing link between the person designing a beautiful user interface and the one actually building the backend for it. I think that was the most difficult gap we needed to breach, which has now officially been breached with Claude Design. Anyway, if you're a solo founder, a solo builder, this is gonna come in quite clutch. I think for a lot of people, building the prototype was the hardest part, but that's not gone. And if you're looking for one simple thing you could do, even right now, if you've got access to Claude, is if you've had any idea for an app or for some sort of product, for some sort of website, just prompt it. Just prompt with some of the visions I kind of described earlier today. And just see what comes out of it. Maybe nothing, but maybe it's amazing. And also, if this was useful, make sure you press the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, if you'd like to see more of exactly what this built, how my pulse tracker is going and what it turns into, or some more of the apps that I've built, do let me know down below. But I've given you all the prompts and you can build exactly what I built in this video. So hopefully that was enough. But I'll see you guys again in another video somewhere tomorrow because I post on this channel every single day.